On January 27th, Independent Lens will air a documentary titled The State of Arizona, and it'll center predominantly around the controversial SB 1070 law that was signed into place, more commonly known as the Show Me Your Papers law. Now, while the documentary will focus on the push by Senator Russell Pierce regarding this legislation, perhaps the most famous figure in all of this is Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Maricopa County, and he's here joining me by telephone, to talk about this legislation and also being from the Springfield, Massachusetts area. Thank you so much, Sheriff, for joining me today. Now, I had a mixed reaction when I posted on Facebook and Twitter that I was speaking to you. Some people love you, some people hate you, and I'm sure you get a little bit of that back where you're from. Why is that?
Well, I'm an elected sheriff. I'm not a police chief that has to report to bureaucrats. I report to the 4 million people that live in the county that we know of. I'm sure there's a few others floating around. So being elected and being a bureaucrat with the federal government for 30 years, Army, police, it's great to be able to make decisions right away, not have to go through bureaucracy. And I run the third largest jail, plus we're the third largest sheriff's office, so it's not a small operation. So we are law enforcement. The sheriff under the Constitution is the chief law enforcement officer for the county. I take that very serious, so I can make some people mad at things that I do, but that's great. You can't get everybody to like you.
Do you think sometimes it has to do with the tactics that you use in your fight for immigration reform?
Well, immigration is just something I took on after 2 state laws were passed. And also, since the federal government trained my deputy sheriffs, 160, and I was functioning as federal agents too, I've taken a lot of controversy and heat just because we're trying to do the job.
Now, the documentary talks about how the Obama administration has deportation numbers far and above the previous administration, and that seems to be a big deal for you as well, wanting to deport illegal immigrants. So, but in the same sense, the federal government was still suing you over this. So I would think that if you both had that common goal, you would find more agreement. They felt maybe that you were overstepping your bounds?
Well, first of all, there's probably more deportations because more people are coming in. So I wouldn't give the president credit on that. That's my theory. And by the way, I spent 14 years as a top federal official in Mexico City, Texas, Arizona. So I think I know where the Mexican border is. So when they keep saying he's deported more people, I don't know. That means we got more coming in. But other than that, he doesn't like me. He's made comments about me, the president. Not because of investigating his birth certificate, that's another issue. But it is a complex problem when you talk about illegal immigration. It's an economic problem, political problem, diplomatic problem. So it's a big issue, not just 1070 or how many people are deported.
Now, you are from the Springfield area. You were born here. You lived here for 18 years before you joined the Army, and we'll get to that soon. But when I posted on Facebook and Twitter that I would be talking to you, I invited people to give me their questions or comments, and we're not going to be able to get to all of them. But before we get to the ones about you growing up in the Springfield area, somebody mentioned this country would collapse without immigration. We wouldn't eat without people willing to work hard. How would you respond to that when you're fighting to deport immigrants?
First of all, we are the greatest country in the world. My mother and father came to the United States through Ellis Island, settled in Springfield, opened up Italian grocery stores, worked hard. This is what makes the United States great. It's people, the immigrants that come in here, legally, of course. And I love the foreign people, the immigrants that come here. I'm a good example, the son of someone that made something out of his life. Unfortunately, my mother came from Italy, but she died giving her life for me, refusing abortion. So I bounced around from one Italian family when I was young in Springfield. But I just look at my father, how hard he worked from another country and made something out of his hard work and living in the United States. So I really like immigrants coming into our country. but you have to do it legally. That's the whole question.
Now, somebody else on Facebook mentioned, can you ask him why his office has cost his county $43 million in settlement claims from wrongful deaths?
Well, whoever said that must be reading some garbage on the internet or some Mickey Mouse newspaper we have here that has to give it out free, the New Times. But it's really not $43 million. On the other hand, that's the nature of the business. I've been sheriff 21 years. If you talk about $30 million, what does that mean? That's not that much. It may sound like a lot. Go to a big city and see what they pay every year on lawsuits. I run a jail, too. Mm-hmm. Over $2.2 million have come through the jails. You're bound to get some lawsuits from even the inmates in the jail. They're not very happy. So when they talk about spend all this money, how about talking about the millions I saved, putting up tents and cheap food and everything else?
All right, now specifically talking about illegal immigration, we had somebody said the 14th Amendment guarantees citizenship to anyone born here in the States. How do you handle deporting someone illegally if their children are here legal?
First of all, I don't deport. That's up to the federal government to do that. All I do is lock them up. It's up to the feds to decide to deport, which are not doing a good job right now, and I'm going to go public very soon and show the facade of the federal government on this deportation and getting tough on illegal aliens.
Well, another comment that somebody had, or question was, are you concerned about risks of constitutional liberty at the risk of enforcement? For instance, when you require citizens to carry identification, do you feel that sometimes crosses the line?
I don't require any citizen to carry anything.
Okay.
We do lock up people. We just did, again, 73 investigations on businesses and arresting the employees because they have fake ID. So most of these people that are arrested in these private businesses have fake ID. They come from another country. And that's how we enforce that law, not just because they're here illegally. That's up to the feds to do that part of the investigation.
Moving on to another question we received. Does a local sheriff have the power to disobey a judge's order if he deems it unconstitutional?
No, I took an oath of office many times in my other life, plus sheriff, to obey the Constitution. No, but I can disagree with the courts. I'm elected. I don't expect judges to tell me how to do my job as far as running this office. But if it's a constitutional matter, I also have the right to appeal, which I do, and go up to the Supreme Court if I have to. You've
been elected multiple times. I think you're on your 6th term already. So for being such a controversial figure, people are still reelecting you. Why is that?
Well, that's a good question. Sometimes I ask myself that because everybody's after me. Department of Justice, they're still after me. ACLU, the media, they just put a monitor in my office, which I'm not concerned with. I'm monitored every day by the White House. Even my wife monitors me, so I think I worry about another monitor. But why do I keep getting reelected? Well, I work hard. I get to the people. I can't rely on the media. So I get to the people. I work 14 hours a day. They like what I'm doing. I serve them. They don't serve me. And it's an honor to keep getting reelected. I'm going on my 7th time. You know, I ran for sheriff when I was 60. So if you add up 60 in 1992, with the calculator, you'll find out I'm 81 going on 82.
Most people are in retirement, and here you are, you're sheriff of a county. Now, we'll end with some questions that people had, not regarding illegal immigration, which can be a controversial topic, but regarding you growing up in the Springfield area. We had somebody that says his parents owned a grocery store on Walnut Street, Del Vecchio and Arpaio, and we're good friends with my dad. Please ask him if he remembers that mom and pop store as an important part of his formative roots. Do you?
Yeah, well, I'm sure that the person, I probably delivered groceries to that person. That person has to be a senior citizen, too. My father had 3 grocery stores. Main Street which is an Italian neighborhood, and Walnut Street, and Long Meadow, Mass, and the Union Car Wash. So he and his partner worked hard. My father never took a vacation. I told you, he came from Italy. So everybody says, sure, if you look so young for your age. And I always say I drank the olive oil, so maybe I took a couple of swigs of olive oil when I made all those deliveries to the Italians.
There you go. And then we also had one final question. Somebody wanted me to ask you, when was the last time you visited Springfield, and what's your favorite memory of this area?
Last time I visited, they were doing a documentary on me, and they took me to Springfield. Of course, I wanted to see Main Street, where my father had the grocery store, and then I also lived on Cedar Street, and I went back to the old days. The house is still there. So that was a fond memory. I'm very proud of being from Springfield. I'm a big Boston Celtics fan, and that's where basketball was invented by Dr. Naismith. I just bought 400 Smith & Wesson automatic weapons for my deputies, and that's where Smith & Wesson is in Springfield. Bradley, the toys. So I'm proud of where I grew up. You never forget your roots. Never forget your roots. And that's how I formulated my life, working hard. I went to Commerce High School, played all the sports. I wasn't a good student. Then joined the Army and moved on from there.
Great. Thank you so much, Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.